So in this tutorial, I'm going to talk about Git hook. So let's say when you enable a certain shell script to be run, when you perform a Git command in your local repository, you want to share this functionality, the Git hook that you enable, to your team members, okay? And here comes the problem. Because right now, when you enable the shell script in this hook directory, let's say if you enable it, this one, okay, what happens is that this pre-push file shell script will only be run in your local repository, okay? And if you do git status right now, let's change to the test repository. If you do git status right now, you can see that even if you change something under this hook directory, your working tree is still clean. This is because all these files, they are actually not under the version control. So it just happened in your local repository. So the problem is how to share this file that you have just enabled to your team members so everyone are synced together and have this Git hook enabled for this pre-push file. So what you can do is that you can actually, in this test directory, you can actually create a folder. Let's call it as Git hook. And then in this Git hook folder, I can actually copy the shell script that I want to be enabled under this Git hook, okay? So this pre-push file right now it will be under version control, okay? So, and then right now this pre-push file, since it's under version control, you can actually push this to the remote repository and then someone can use this pre-push file when they perform the git command, okay? But how does this pre-push file being run if you didn't configure anything? So, in order to link this pre-push file to Git hook, what you can do is that you can actually perform this particular command. So I actually have this git config command. So this git config command, it will actually configure the file under the Git hook. Let's remove S here. Under the Git hook folder to be run whenever you perform a git command. So since I have pre-push under the Git hook folder, when I configure the git environment using this command, when I do a git push command, this pre-push file will be run, okay? So let us right now try to perform this command, and in order to avoid every time that you have to type the git config command, I'm going to create a batch file. Let us call it as configure hook bat file. So since I'm in Windows, I'm going to use a batch file. So in this batch file, I'm going to copy these two commands over here. So every time I want to configure my Git environment to allow this Git hook to happen, I just need to click this file. Okay, so before I click it, I'm going to show you the config file first. So in this config file, you can see these are the only text file inside. And after that, I'm going to click it right now. So the git config command is being executed. When you go back to this git config file, you reload it, you notice that there's a line of text is being added. It says that the hook's path is this git hook, okay, which is the folder under your test directory. So it means that the file under the Git hook folder, this pre-push is being enabled. It's being linked to Git hook. Okay, so right now I'm going to make a commit. So let us call it as test.txt file. Okay, and let us commit it and let us give it a WIP, start with that. Okay, so right now we have a commit which has the commit message start with WIP. So in this Git hook, open it up. In this pre-push file, if you found that your commit message starts with a WIP, it will abort the push. So right now, I'm going to do a git push origin master. So you can see that it's actually found a WIP in the commit that we have just made. So it doesn't allow you to push. Okay, so this is how you can allow your team member to have the Git hook enabled for certain shell script. You can actually push this Git hook and this batch file to the remote repository. So when your team member download the remote repository, it will download these two files and you can ask them before they want to push their commit to the remote repository, they can run this batch file. This will configure the environment to enable the Git hook for the certain shell script. Okay, and right now you might be thinking, why don't I configure something? Let's say when someone clones the repository, it will configure the environment to run the shell script that my team members don't actually have to run this batch file by themselves. This is actually not possible because just imagine that when you clone someone's remote repository and their shell script is able to run automatically without your concern, and let's say someone can write some shell script to actually destroy your computer or actually steal your information of your computer, right? So actually without your consent, we are not actually able to write some shell script to actually run automatically in other people's computer. So that's why I actually prepared a batch file to allow the user that clone the remote repository, and then they have to run it so that the shell script under the git hook can be enabled when they perform the git command. Okay, so right now I can actually push my git hook and configure hook.batch file towards the remote repository. Alright, so right now I'm going to change the commit message, and I'm going to do a git push origin master. This will push whatever that I've added in the staging, whatever I've committed to the remote repository. So right now, if I refresh it, you can see that there will be a git hook folder, and there's also a configure hook.batch file. Alright, so let's say right now my team member, they can clone this remote repository, go to this directory. Right now, they can clone the repository, and after that, in this repository, you can see that if you go to the .git config file, the git hook is actually not enabled yet. Okay, and in order to enable it, they can run this configure hook batch file. So once they run this file, you will see in the config file, git hook is being enabled. So right now, over here, if they make some commit, let's say in the test.txt file, and they commit it with a message, let's say WIP, alright. So when they try to push to the master branch, Git will not allow you to push because there's a WIP in the commit message. Okay, so this is how you deploy the Git hook shell script to your team member and allow them to use by writing a batch file to let them run it manually so that they can enable the Git hook shell script in their environment. Okay, so thank you so much for watching this tutorial.